The story begins with the idea that ranking is what determines a person's position and what awakens their desires. There are powers ranging from intellect to connections and even wealth. All of this in a land where absolutely everything is ranked. Basically, where a boy's journey begins. The scene shifts to a village called Tully. A little boy was chopping wood with his axe, saying he had already finished everything. Then an old man appears asking the boy to sharpen his blade. But out of nowhere, that man gets kicked by a woman, ordering him to stop asking things of the boy, whose name is Lo. He'd always been the kind of person who gets distracted since he was born. Since he does everything for others, they only see him as a tool. But Lo says he's fine with that. However, to the girl, that's not okay at all, saying she knows he's very kind. Changing the subject, she gives a smile, asking if he happens to want to leave the village, saying she actually found a secret path no one knows about. Right after, an old woman appears saying they can't do that, asking if they forgot the village rules since they're not allowed to leave, ordering that the child be locked up for a while. In the next scene, a man asks Lo to help fetch water later, and the boy agrees without question. That man says those two kids are the only ones around the same age in the village but have completely different personalities, stating that Lo can take a break sometimes too because he surely has things he wants to do. But the protagonist refuses, saying he will definitely help. After his parents died early, he was left alone, but everyone welcomed him as if he were part of their families. He actually knows they're all taking care of him, making sure he's not alone, so he wants to repay at least a little of that kindness. Also because he really loves the village and everyone in it. Hearing this, the man begins to cry, asking if he wants to live in his house from that day on, but the boy refuses, thinking that what matters most to him are the people in the village. But with the outside world, that's a different story. Meanwhile, Yuna was locked up, and the old woman says she is a very unruly child and should be at least a little more like Lo. Yuna asks why they can never leave the village, and the old woman says they occasionally call in merchants, questioning if that's not enough for her. But Yuna says the outside world is so much bigger, asking why they have to keep living there, trapped. Hearing that, the old woman says it's because they are beings resented by someone. Yuna, curious, asks who that person is. The old woman says she doesn't need to know that, because someday, time will solve everything. In the next scene, Lo is filling up some buckets, saying that was already enough. Out of nowhere, someone throws a rock at him. It's revealed to be Yuna, asking him to be quiet, calling the boy to go somewhere. Lo asks if she snuck out again, and Yuna says she's been caught so many times that sneaking out is easy now, and Lo says he didn't think that was something to be proud of. Obviously, Hiro didn't care, saying what comes next is much more important. She presents a secret passage, and Lo says if they leave the village, Grandma will scold them again. But the girl says it's fine if it's just for a little while, because there's something she wants to show him. The next scene goes to a forest in the middle of nowhere. Yuna seemed to want to show something to the protagonist, saying they had finally arrived. Our hero is surprised by what he sees, because it really was a beautiful view, saying the outside world is truly gigantic. With a smile on his face, he says it's amazing. Yuna watches the boy's expression, asking if he knows the rules of the outside world. According to a book she got from a merchant, the outside world has a system called rankings. From adventurers and transporters to even doctors, there were many kinds of rankings, and the people who put their names in them are called rankings. And even food and weapons were being ranked in that world, and it seemed like the whole universe was competing seriously. Lo looks disappointed, saying the outside world also has rules, and Yuna says she wants to become a ranking adventurer, because she'll explore many places, competing with rivals across the world, and one day she wants to become a cool adventurer respected by everyone. Hearing this, Lo remains silent, saying that there's a rule they can't leave the village, but the girl says she doesn't care about that because she's already decided to leave. She then extends her hand to the boy, telling him they should go together, because Lo also needs to leave that place, asking if he remembers when she was attacked by a giant bird when she was only 5 years old, because Lo saved her too. The boy asks if something like that really happened, and Yuna says some kind of green aura came out of him, and he managed to defeat that bird. She's known ever since. Lo always seems to have his head in the clouds, but when he gets serious, he's stronger than anyone, which is exactly why he's bound to stand out if he leaves that place, and for that reason, they should explore the world together. Hearing that, the boy is surprised. But shortly after, his expression changes, saying he still loves the village so he can't leave. Yuna gets irritated, calling him stubborn. So she says she doesn't care anymore and will move forward because he can just stay stuck in the village for the rest of his life. Watching the girl, Lo asks her to be careful on her way back. In the next scene, Lo reflects that he had never considered the possibility of Yuna leaving the village. Starting to watch the clouds, he becomes surprised. Realizing it's already late, he says it's time to go back. He then gets up. Looking up, he sees something. It looked like a floating island, wondering what that thing was. Out of nowhere, the island starts to glow. Our hero just keeps watching. In a matter of seconds, a beam of light shoots down from the island straight to the ground, causing a massive impact as a result. Lo, confused, wonders what's happening. Suddenly, that island vanishes. But even so, there's something else to worry about. The boy starts running toward his village, thinking everything's fine and probably nothing bad happened. The only thing he can think about is Yuna and the villagers. He finally arrives at the place. Looking ahead, he can't believe what he's seeing, because the village had simply vanished. All of it, along with all of its inhabitants. Lo begins to descend toward the area, unable to believe his eyes. Shouting, he tries to find someone still alive. In his mind, the only thing left is the memory of Yuna. As reality sets in, tears begin to fall from his face, remembering all the people who had once taken him in, but none of them were there anymore. The boy is completely devastated, asking himself why all of this had to happen. At that moment, someone says that all he did was watch it happen again, because he had definitely arrived too late. That man starts to observe our hero. The protagonist didn't know who this person was. The man then comes down from the slope, asking if he's a survivor from Telly Village, and our hero replies yes. The man is shocked, saying it must have been hard for Lo, but tells him to stay calm because that island is already gone. Lo is surprised, asking if he knows what that thing was, asking him to tell what happened to those people. Hearing this, the man remains silent, handing him a paper, and he tells him to give up on the village and go to the place written on it, because I'll be able to live safely there. But for Lo, that doesn't matter. He only wants to know what that island was, and the man tells him to look at the situation. The village is completely gone, and that's no place for a kid like him to get involved. He should forget everything he saw in that place, because that's the only thing he can do now. As he begins to walk away in his thoughts, he begs Lo not to dig any deeper because there's no need for him to be sacrificed too. But meanwhile, our hero is still silent, remembering Yuna's words that when he gets serious, he's stronger than anyone. The aura begins to envelop his body, and the man just watches. Lo says there's no way he can forget this, because he's definitely going to that island and getting revenge for everyone. When Lo was young, his parents died in a landslide. When he was left alone, all the villagers ended up taking care of him. There was also Yuna, who was always by his side. They were all kind people who couldn't stand by and watch someone suffer. For that reason, there's no way he could forget those people, concluding that he'll go to that island and definitely bring everyone back. Hearing this, the man begins to analyze the protagonist, wondering what that amount of prana could be, because the space around was even beginning to distort. Prana is a term for the mental energy of living beings, a power that everyone can possess, but few are aware of it. However, talented individuals can use it intentionally. Normally, it has no color and is transparent, but those with powerful prana can make it visible. And it's said that some races possess a special type of prana. The man remains surprised, thinking that this is the survivor of Babel. He wanted to prioritize protecting the boy, but it seems like he'll break free on his own in a few years, saying he really has no idea of his own potential. Right after, the man hands a sword to our hero, saying that if he wants to go to that island, he must hold that sword. If he sees potential in him, he will train him, ordering him to come at him like he intends to kill. The two then begin to summon the prana aura. In a matter of seconds, the protagonist charges toward the man, who thinks this was expected since the boy is a beginner with the sword. However, that pressure, above all, felt very different. Not only that, but the wave of prana coming from the boy is extraordinary, stating that he's probably the real deal. At that moment, an impact occurs. In the next scene, time has already passed, and the man says that island is called the Island of the Gods. It usually floats above the vast ocean, but very rarely appears in completely different places, wiping out people or land. He has been working to stop it, but ended up letting it slip away again. According to theory, humans involved in that light are taken to the Island of the Gods. Lo says that if he had touched that light, he would have gone to the island too, but the man says that's only a theory, and even if he survived, there's no telling what they might do to him. Lo asks what he can do then, and the man says the first step is indirect approach. In the adventurer ranking, he must be in the top 10. Adventurers are professionals who explore and develop unknown territories. Among all the rankings, they have the highest numbers, and the top-ranked ones are definitely monsters. If you're in the top 10, you can go to the Island of the Gods. Hearing this, the protagonist remains surprised. The man adds that ever since its first appearance, the Island of the Gods has continuously held the #1 danger zone ranking, and adventurers rarely return alive, asking if he still wants to go to that place. But our boy was already determined, saying that he definitely will. The man watches the expression on our hero's face, saying he'll train him for 1 year starting now, but he can only teach him the way of the sword. Then after 1 year, he must use it as a springboard and climb the adventurer rankings on his own. His name is Adol, and he is ranked #1 among knights, basically the strongest knight of humanity. Asking for the boy's name, and the protagonist replies that his name is Lo. After introductions, Adol says he won't go easy on him. After all, he's the first one to bring him down with a single blow. Thus began a hellish year, and the blisters on his hands and feet burst, and his muscles were torn, along with all of his bones being crushed and his entire body in pain. After that, Adol didn't say anything more about the Island of the Gods, as if telling him to discover the rest on his own, and if it's impossible, then to give up. Even so, the villagers must still be alive, and now that's the only thing he can continue to believe in, asking himself why the village disappeared and what the hell the Island of the Gods really is. That's why, to find the truth, you will rise in the adventurer rankings, becoming stronger and stronger. In the next scene, a year has passed, and the protagonist is standing next to a doll in the same place where Yuna once stood. Adol asks if he's ready, and our hero says he's been ready for a long time. He continues to gaze at that view. After that, he closes his eyes, remembering the moments he shared with Yuna in that place. Yuna, who longed for the outside world, disappeared, and now it's he who is setting off on a journey. That's why he'll carry Yuna's dream while he still can. Right after, Adol says it's time to go. The protagonist says he's already on his way. At that very moment, our hero was 17 years old, and Adol says he's grown quite a lot. Thus, the disciple of the strongest might of humanity set off on his journey, and his adventure was heading toward the island of the gods. They were going precisely to the kingdom of Baltar, basically the royal capital of Traquista. The next scene moves to a building. A girl was sleeping in the meantime. A voice tells her to look because it was almost time. Suddenly, the girl jumps up, saying she overslept. Time passes, and the smoky brunette asks if she spent the whole night watching Rankers again, and the girl questions what's wrong with that since she's from the recognition department. The woman says that because she's from the recognition department, she should manage her condition, unlike herself, who works in an indoor environment. That specific girl is from the recognition department, a profession sent to various parts of the world to assess the abilities of ranked individuals and properly update their rankings. The department requires vast specialized knowledge and fair judgment, and to reach a position that evaluates someone's superiority or inferiority, one must go through many assessments. It's a role only a select few can perform and is considered one of the most complex professions in the world. The girl says that even though she's in the recognition department, she's just a low-level employee, and to do what she wants, she needs to work hard and get promoted. Then the smoky brunette asks what she wants to do. To advance in the department and become an exclusive agent to a skilled individual is the best path, and the girl admits that's true, but says not many people catch her eye. One with glasses says she has high standards, but the girl denies it, saying that the other ranked people are just kind of average. In the past, competition over rankings used to be much fiercer, but now the top spots in every category are fixed, so it doesn't make much sense for the department to even be there. All because rankings only have value if they're being updated. After all the boring talk, the one with glasses says she's definitely a maniac. Then she starts opening a door, saying that a rising star might be in there. Apparently, it's a classroom. The girl with the barrett asks if this is the third year and why it's always so crowded, and the smoky brunette says usually there are fewer people. She guesses it's because the Azaban forest was added to the danger zone ranking 2 months ago. Even so, this time there seem to be some promising candidates. One of them is an adventurer ranked 753 named Drakus, who's the leader of the Red Wolf Mercenary Company. There's also someone ranked 402 named Eddie from the Markman family, a famous lineage of archers. His father was ranked 2nd. Besides them, there are several other promising individuals, and then the other girl mentions there's also a ranked merchant. From a ranked knight to a ranked sailor, and even a ranked guide. The one with glasses confirms it all, and the one with the barrett says that even if she doesn't look like it, she's from the recognition department and can tell someone's rank just by looking. The adventurer ranker title in particular is convenient, and many rankers aim for it later on. It's also essential for entering special areas like that forest. Then someone rings a bell. Leaving the place, the girl asks for them to wait a moment. She then greets and welcomes them, and the protagonist says he was told to come there to register for the rankings. The one with glasses confirms that's correct, as rankings are a system managed and operated by the recognition department. Members of the department are sent to different locations to evaluate abilities and determine rankings, and updates can be done anywhere as long as there's a department member present. Right after, our boy says he wants to register for the adventurer ranking, and the girl says it's the perfect timing as the exam is about to start, asking if he wants to participate. Lo says yes, and the brunette then asks him to fill in his name and other details on the form. There's also an exam fee of 3,000 del, but the protagonist doesn't seem to care about any of that and just does as she asks. Once everything is completed, the one with glasses asks him to wait in that room. His exam number is 53. As our hero walks by, the girl with the barrett quietly observes him, saying there are still country bumpkins who don't even know what the recognition department is, and the one with glasses says it's been a long time since she had to explain it. Meanwhile, our boy keeps walking toward the room. The next scene shifts to another location, where that girl is presenting the adventurer ranking registration exam. There are 3 types of exams: the written exam, the practical exam, and the final exam, which will be explained before it begins. Passing or failing will be determined by the scores from all 3, and even if you don't do well in one, you can still pass by performing well in the others, so no one should give up until the very end. With everything explained, they were to start the exam immediately, and those idiots began writing on the paper. One of the guys didn't understand anything, asking what scope even meant. Time passes again, and the exam was finally over. The practical exam would take place in the forest outside the village in 2 hours, and they would be guided there once the test grading was completed. Until then, they had to wait. In the next scene, the smoky brunette was holding a mountain of papers, asking the girl with the barrett to help her with the grading. They begin analyzing the answer sheets, but the girl with the barrett, upon seeing one, is surprised. By coincidence, it belonged to number 53, and she thinks it's the same guy with the dead-looking eyes from before. The funny thing was that literally every answer was wrong. 2 hours later, the brunette explains that the exam is a treasure hunt, and they would deliver the items to that board. Those aiming for the highest score should look at the points on the right. However, fights between examinees were forbidden, and whoever touched the item first would get it. The participants seemed confident in their abilities, eager to start the exam. And finally, that damn exam begins. A smoky brunette was relieved, saying she could finally rest a bit. She asked how many would pass this time, and the girl with the beret says probably at least half. The one with glasses says it's easier to notice when they're moving, and this time they all seem pretty skilled, asking if anyone caught her attention. But the girl with the beret states that no one really stood out. Then a guy appears. He hands over a crystal that was apparently worth 120 points. The one with glasses says there's still time, asking if he's done, and the guy says yes, because he'll pass either way. Still, the girl says if he scores more, he might get a higher rank upon registration, but the guy doesn't care. His job is to be a mercenary. In the next scene, another boy shows up, saying he thought he'd be the first. The brunette, looking at the artifact, says it's worth 108 points, and that item often ends up on her dinner table. The mercenary then says the boy is getting cocky over a mere bird feather. The boy says he wasn't trying to be arrogant, but the man wouldn't even be able to spot a bird flying silently at 500 kilometers per hour. Asking if he wants to test it, the one with glasses says rankers really have a lot of pride, and the beret girl says that's actually a ranker's strength. In the next scene, another person was approaching them. The girl turns to see who it is, and suddenly the protagonist appears, carrying nothing less than a giant bear. He doesn't know how to remove the gallbladder of a red bear, so he brought the whole hunt and asks if he can deliver it like that. Surprised, the brunette says that's acceptable, and that part of the bear is basically worth 300 points, and meanwhile the other hunters are watching what our hero just did. Right after, the girl with the beret asks how he knew that magical beast was a red bear since his written exam was simply awful. But the boy says those creatures often appear near his village, so he ended up becoming familiar with them. In the next scene, the guy asks another if he saw the protagonist fighting. The other guy says yes, because he saw it right in front of him. But still, he couldn't say he actually watched the battle. By the time he was drawing his sword, in a matter of seconds, that red bear had already been taken down. Hearing all of this, the girl with the beret seems to be paying more attention to the protagonist. In the next scene, we're already in an underground area, and the smoky brunette asks if they know what an adventurer must be cautious of. To summarize, magical beasts, and without exception, humans too. An adventurer's mission is to explore new lands, and naturally, they often go into uncharted territories. At those times, threats could include even bandits and pirates, and power is essential to overcome them. Therefore, the final exam is a simulated battle, and the examinees will fight each other. This is purely to evaluate their individual abilities, so they shouldn't be nervous. In the next scene, a big guy shows up, asking another man to fight him. In the last exam, he picked up a sound stone and had already heard that the mercenary rankings are just a den of thugs full of bravado. Suddenly, he starts threatening a punch, asking how someone like him could be anything more than third-rate. But in a matter of seconds, the guy was defeated. He fell to the ground like an idiot. The sword wielder apologizes, saying he couldn't tolerate the insult, and the smoky brunette says the guy was already doomed to fail, and that she'll just pretend she didn't see anything. No matter how much the guy was aiming with a strong strike, the truth is they're just idiots, and top-tier third-class rankers are nothing more than monsters. The girl then starts scanning the surroundings, thinking about which opponent she could pair with that sword guy. But then the beret girl shows up, asking if she can choose his opponent. Next scene, several battles were taking place. Then match number 8 begins, and the participants are number 27 and number 41. But there's also another person, because it's none other than the protagonist who shows up. Numbers 27 and 41 are a team, and the two of them are to face number 53. Hearing this, they're surprised, and a short guy says it's been a while since they were underestimated like this. The smoky brunette doesn't understand anything, asking if they're sure about this. Meanwhile, the beret girl is all excited, saying her eyes don't lie, because that boy is definitely a monster in human form. Right after, the three begin staring each other down. The evaluators simply observe. That guy is named Drakus and is the leader of the Red Wolf Mercenary Company. Last year, that mercenary company made a name for itself by taking down the Kimura Mafia, which was ranked 62nd among criminal organizations. There were rumors that the young leader single-handedly defeated 7 executives, including the boss. You also can't ignore the boy named Markman, a renowned young prodigy from the Markman family of archers. He received elite training from his father, who once ranked 2nd among archers. He was registered in the archer rankings at just 5 years old, and no archer is unfamiliar with this prodigy whose skills live up to his lineage. That's why facing those two is no small feat. And yet he's just a nameless young man. Right after, the glasses girl says the battle may begin. In a matter of seconds, Markman fires an arrow, aimed straight at the protagonist. He easily dodges it, but there's no time to think because the other guy was already charging at him. Swinging his sword, the two begin exchanging a sequence of strikes. The spectators are stunned, continuing to watch the fight. Our hero was extremely focused, managing to counter the other guy's sword, who was shocked by what he saw, and Lo finally spots an opening. But right after, he looks back, because a few arrows are flying in his direction. Still with quick reflexes, he manages to slash some of them, blocking them effortlessly. One of the arrows ricochets, flying straight toward the audience, barely missing another participant. The battle pauses for a few seconds. Drakius says that the guy seems like a high-tier swordsman from the knight ranking, and Eddie agrees, but says he's never seen someone with that kind of power. Then the protagonist asks if the two of them are affiliated with other rankings. The one from the Markman family says he's ranked 402 in the archer ranking, and Drakius says he's ranked 753 in the mercenary ranking. Hearing this, our hero says he understands. Summoning his aura, he says that if he defeats both of them, he'll definitely rise to a 3-digit rank. The aura is so immense that it surrounds the entire area. The two are shocked by what they see. The Barrett girl recognizes that the aura is prana and so dense that its color is even visible to the naked eye. Back in the fight, the archer says that ranking isn't only about profession. In the archer ranking, he's number 402, but in the sniper ranking, which competes in precision shooting, he's number 78. But that meant nothing, because in a matter of seconds, the guy was already defeated, leaving only the other participant. He keeps watching our hero, who was standing there with that overwhelming aura. The guy looked like a lunatic, locked onto his target. The poor guy was already thinking he was done for. Suddenly, the protagonist appears behind him, placing his sword to his neck. After that, the guy raises his hand, saying he surrenders, because he has work later, and it'd be a problem if he passed out like that other guy. Our hero keeps the sword at his neck for a moment, then sheaths it again. The other participant looks back, thinking Lo is a monster, wondering just who this person is. The audience goes wild because that guy had just defeated 2 rankers in the 3-digit range. Right after, the glasses girl announces that the battle is over, and the winner was number 53. Then the Barrett girl begins to walk away. Next scene, she goes to another place and is staring at a computer, apparently analyzing information about some rankers. She's surprised by what she sees. Looking at the protagonist's profile, he's 17 years old, has no experience and no ranking record. It would make sense if he had lived in a considerably remote area. Even so, he hasn't committed any crimes and doesn't belong to any special faction. The Barrett girl gets excited, thinking she just hit the jackpot, or had such talent been buried all this time. Right after, she leaves that room, telling Lo to make her his exclusive recognition agent. But when she looks ahead, a bunch of agents were already swarming the protagonist. Poor thing immediately realizes she was a step too late. Next scene, the clueless Lo asks what an exclusive recognition agent is. Taking the chance, the Barrett girl says she'll explain. Because it's someone who is exclusively assigned to a specific ranker and frequently updates their rankings. Normally, to update your ranking, you have to wait for the Recognition Bureau to send someone and go through an evaluation. But if he has an exclusive recognition agent, he can have it updated at any time. Besides that, recognition agents carry a phone so they can access the latest information anytime. If he wants to rise in the rankings efficiently, he should hire a certified exclusive agent too. Hearing this, Love is surprised, then says he has a condition. He looks back, asking if there's anyone there who can get him into the top 10 of the adventurer ranking. Upon hearing that, of course, all the agents are stunned. They quickly change their expressions, saying that the adventurer ranking is full of monsters. His sword skills are excellent, but even so, getting into the top 10 is incredibly difficult, and upon hearing that, the protagonist's expression changes. The Barrett girl stays silent, and then our hero starts walking away, but she goes after him. Next, Lo is already outside that building, but someone calls out to him. The Barrett girl asks why he wants to get into the top 10 of the adventurer ranking, but the boy fires back bluntly, saying it's none of her business. Still, she says she's going to make it her business, because she'll be his exclusive recognition agent, and she'll get him into the top 10 of the adventurer ranking. Even so, our boy refuses, saying he doesn't want to put a child in danger. Hearing that, the girl gets angry, saying that before being a child, she's a recognition agent. And honestly, the boy is a child too. Then Lo says that even if she weren't a child, he has no intention of hiring her. After all, he doesn't want to involve others. But the girl doesn't give up, saying there's something she absolutely has to do. She has a mission she must fulfill, even if it costs her life. Because of that, she wants to team up with him. Upon hearing that, Lo looks back. He starts observing the girl. Apparently, he remembered himself when he was younger, saying that there's something he absolutely has to do as well. The Barrett girl extends her hand, saying that she'll climb her way up to become one of the best. And so they finally make a deal. Next scene, it's already nighttime. The girl is showing Lo a room. She rented it for a few days, so they'll use it as their base for now. Our hero thanks her, saying she's quite capable, but even so, she was really nervous. Apparently, the deal wasn't that great, as it was more of a trial period lasting a week, saying she'll prove how competent she is during that time, and then he'll finally have to bow his head. Lo hopes that's true, and the girl asks him not to talk as if it's someone else's problem. Changing the subject, she says she analyzed his fighting style, and that when he fights, he often looks distracted, and Lo says he hears that a lot actually. Right after, the girl takes out her phone, saying that the exam results were just released. Specifically, his ranking was posted and the boy is ranked number 2728, congratulating him for passing the adventurer ranking registration exam, and still being surprised that he's already in the 2000s right after registering. That's an amazing ranking. Even so, he's disappointed, saying he thought he'd be in the triple digits, because both opponents he fought in the exam were ranked in the triple digits. The Barrett girl says the adventurer ranking has more people compared to other categories, so the competition is fierce. No matter how strong he is, there's a limit, and rankings exist for more than just professions. For example, his swordsman ranking is 58, and that's already a very good rank. Even so, Lo doesn't seem to know about it, and the girl with the Barrett says that for the knowledge department, that number can be considered talent. Lo asks if those two he fought also have other classifications like that, and the girl replies yes. Apparently, each player has a classification based on what they do, and they can acquire multiple classifications, though doing so brings more and more work. That's why she thinks he should also register for several classifications. However, Lo says he's not looking for work, and the girl says they haven't known each other for long but still feels like she understands him a little. To sum it all up, he wants to reach the top 10 of the adventurer ranking through the shortest route. All of that just to go to the Island of the Gods afterward. Lo asks how she knew that. The girl says that this is the only special privilege the top 10 in the adventurer ranking can have, and she also wants to know the reason once the trial period ends. Hearing that, Lo agrees. The girl says she'll tell him about her situation too. The hero says they'll do that to be fair with each other, and the girl with the Barrett says it's important. But her situation is hard to explain to someone who just registered, because what she's chasing at this very moment is the darkness of the rankings. The protagonist doesn't understand anything and asks what she said, but then she changes the subject. She asks where he got so much power, especially that sword skill, and whether it wasn't something acquired overnight. Then the boy says that a year ago he became the disciple of a knight named Dol, and the girl is surprised. She questions, does that mean it's that damn number 1 knight? Our hero says that even if he was a disciple, it was only for a year, but still. The girl with the Barrett says that even in that short time, it's big news. That guy is famous for not teaching anyone, and many people requested to be his apprentices but were rejected. If there were a rejection ranking, Adol would definitely be number 1. There were rumors that he planned to pass the title on to the next generation's top-ranked knight. Thanks to that, several knights are trying to increase their rankings, but to think that the idiot protagonist would be the only one to inherit it is something truly incredible. Hearing the whole story, Lo asks if that guy is really that great, and the girl responds yes, because he's number 1, which means he's the strongest in the world. Lo says that even so, he still managed to cut him with his sword, but the girl doesn't believe it. She then starts looking at her phone, wondering where Lo was raised. She sees a last name, Tully, and even when checking the classification database, it's a newly registered name. She wonders if that might be a pseudonym. A flashback appears in her mind with that guy from earlier asking what his last name is, and Lo doesn't understand, asking what that is. Adol says it's a cultural difference. If he wants to reach the Island of the Gods through the shortest route, from now on he should call himself Lo Tully. The risk is high, but if he runs well, clues might reach him first. And hearing that, our hero, no fool, just accepts. The next scene returns to the present, with the boy saying it's not a pseudonym, because Tully is actually the precious name of his family. Hearing that, the girl in the Barrett just accepts it, thanking him for telling her. Still, they're going to rest that day, and her reconnaissance agent duties are done for now. For that reason, she should take off her hat too. She then ends up without that damn hat. The protagonist is surprised. The idiot only now realized she was a girl. The girl asks if he just noticed, and Lo apologizes, making her even more irritated by what she heard. She asks if apologizing is the only thing he has to say. Next scene, it was already daytime. That girl was sitting in the room, seemingly reading a newspaper. The protagonist comes down and the girl casually calls him Shorty, saying he woke up early. He says he was just relieving himself. Right after, he wishes her a good morning. After that, the girl fixes her hair, saying it will be a long journey. But still, this will be the first step, and they're going to have a strategy meeting to enter the top 10 of the adventurer ranking. The scene shifts to another location, and the girl says that to raise his adventurer ranking, he'll need achievements in adventure. Land development or exploration is the basics, and he should do it voluntarily. But for now, she recommends accepting missions. There are many who want to be adventurers by gathering or investigating things, and missions also come with rewards, so they're perfect for beginners. He can get missions from the reconnaissance board, or depending on the country, even from a guild. But since she's there, he can get them just like that. Our hero says that phone is pretty convenient, and the girl says that if he makes her his reconnaissance agent, he could use it freely. They start looking at the phone, and Lo asks if there are any missions that could easily raise his ranking, and the girl with the Barrett says he just needs to accept high difficulty missions. In that case, our hero chooses the first one, which basically consists of retrieving the hidden treasure in the underwater temple. The girl says that's impossible and completely unrealistic for him right now. She asks him to trust the eyes of a reconnaissance agent because that mission is way too hard at the moment and he'll die before even raising his ranking. However, our hero asks her to let him try anyway because the Island of the Gods is ranked as the #1 danger zone, and once he goes there, there's no turning back. At that exact moment, a guy shows up asking if he's in trouble. The girl recognizes the man, saying his name is Loud, and the guy says it's been a while. Lo asks who he is, and the girl explains that this is Loud Bloatward, a formidable individual ranked 11th in the adventurer ranking. Hearing that, Lo is surprised. A flashback appears in his mind with his master saying that adventurers are the most numerous among many rankings, and the top of the rankings are all monsters. Thinking that guy must be one of the monsters his master warned him about. He'd ranked 11th, just one step away from being able to challenge the Island of the Gods. In the next scene, the girl with the beret says it was perfect timing because she needs the guy's help. She asks him to give the boy a good beating. The next scene cuts straight to an arena. Out of nowhere, Loud apologizes for making the boy wait. This will just be a simple duel, so he borrowed a weapon, and even if it's a bit light, it's enough. Our hero calls the man Sir, saying he's ready. The man tells him he can speak casually because etiquette isn't needed in the adventurer ranking. Loud, who has updated his ranking once before, says she, referring to the girl, is really incredible. Not only is she smart, but she also creates valuable rankings, and that passion is something other reconnaissance agents don't have. If a request comes from someone like her, he just wants to help as much as possible. He concludes that the girl seems to care a lot about him. Meanwhile, the clueless protagonist is focused on the battle, thinking he can feel it just by looking. This man in front of him is very strong, and the moment he advances, he feels like he'll be pierced by that spear. Then the girl calls out to our hero, saying this is a good opportunity because he needs to learn just how vast the world is at least once. Our hero is surprised by what he hears, thinking that if this is the vastness of the world, he's already fully aware of it. The two of them start staring each other down. Loud gives the signal to start the battle. At that very moment, their weapons clash. Our hero prepares an attack, but the man dodges it just in time. Loud, meanwhile, is analyzing Lo's movements, thinking he channeled prana into his armor and released it with his slash. He's also increasing his agility by wrapping prana around his hands and feet, and in any case, he recognizes that sword style. It's basically the Sword Saint style, which is only passed on to a single successor. But even so, there's no way he would have passed on the secret art to a child like this. At that moment, Lo appears behind him, saying it's not a good time to be lost in thought. He tries to land a hit, but the man had already anticipated it, saying that he's still feeling pretty relaxed. The boy is surprised by what just happened. He tries to launch another strike, but the man blocks it. Loud thinks that just by looking at his prana, he can tell the boy has a lot of potential, even more so with that glow surrounding his body. Then the two separate. Lo is confused by this. Loud asks what his race is. Pretending to be clueless won't work because that kind of prana glow isn't something acquired later in life. Still, that doesn't matter, because he'll get the answer eventually, asking if the boy can also use enchantments. Hearing that, the protagonist doesn't understand anything, and out of nowhere, a powerful fire begins to burst from behind that man. Apparently, he was casting an enchantment. The man tells him to use his power too, otherwise, he'll be killed. But poor Lo, meanwhile, still doesn't understand anything. Then Loud fires his attack. Lo manages to block the spears with his sword, but even so, the remnants of the strikes still hit him. Loud says it won't work because a regular sword can't block that enchantment. He then snaps his fingers. Several spears appear heading toward the boy. He dodges some of them, but still, he doesn't have time to think. A flashback appears in his mind with his master saying he's still rough in his handling of prana. But once he gets used to it, he'll gradually be able to use techniques. He summons a red aura on his sword, asking him to watch closely. The first is the simplest technique, and right after, in the present, our hero replicates his master's movements, attacking with his mana directed toward Loud. The man is surprised, thinking that the strike is quite fast. He manages to block it with his spear, but within seconds, our hero rushes at him again. The man acknowledges his skill, realizing that he's truly powerful, so he uses his spears to defend, thinking that was a fast slash, invisible to the naked eye. But still, it's not enough to defeat him. He then throws his spear. Our boy manages to block it just barely, but even so, it's not enough. It ends up hitting him. He looks forward, realizing he had already lost, but even so, Loud says it's admirable. He starts summoning multiple spears. The girl with the beret didn't understand what had just happened, and Loud says not to underestimate an adventurer's ranking. Those spears were about to hit our boy, who was frustrated by the situation. All at once, they strike the boy. Next scene, he's already collapsed on the ground in tears. It was a complete defeat. The battle has finally ended. The winner was Loud, ranked number 11 among adventurers. The man asks if he's satisfied, and the girl thanks him, saying that at least now he should understand. Then Loud looks back once more, asking if she really believed that boy could win. She says she just thought it might be possible. Loud asks if that belief was based on the fact that he's Adal's disciple, and she's surprised, asking how he knew. Loud says he knew the moment he saw the high-speed sword. It's a technique from the Sword Saint style. He wonders if that's really the case because the Sword Saint style is passed on to only one successor and is the strongest sword art inherited by high-ranking knights for generations. However, that boy, an adventurer ranker, had inherited it, and from a knight ranker's perspective, it's like having a sacred relic stolen. The girl goes wild, saying yes, and thinks she'll have to stop the boy from meeting ranked knights from now on. And Loud says that would be wise because in the worst-case scenario, he could even be killed. If he operated as a knight ranker, that could settle things calmly. But even so, there's another point, one that's probably impossible. Then the girl with the beret says that actually the reason she believed in him, regardless of the Sword Saint style, was something else. Because he said he landed a hit on a doll, and that's why she ended up believing him. The man is surprised but says that's impossible. At that level, it's out of the question. The girl agrees but says Lo doesn't seem like the type of person who lies. Observing the situation, Loud thinks there might be some circumstances. The Sword Saint style was surprising, but there's still the matter of that prana. Then the man walks toward his spear, saying that Lo probably has enchantment ability, and if he had used it, he might have lost the fight. Then a flashback appears of a woman. She looks back, curious about something, apparently staring at someone. At that moment, an old woman appears asking what she's mumbling about, saying that this poem is the reason they couldn't leave. She must never let those words leave her mouth again. Soon after, the woman leaves the room. Then the girl looks at someone, apologizing to Lo. At that very moment, our boy wakes up. The poor thing was completely wrecked in bed. He asks what happened, and the girl is happy because he woke up. At that exact moment, they are in the infirmary of the recognition Boral, and he had slept the entire day, as if someone had flipped a switch. The doctor said he had accumulated mental fatigue and doesn't know what the boy is carrying, but even so, he's trying to rush things too much. Hearing that, our boy is surprised. A flashback of the battle appears in his mind, saying that she's right. The girl starts staring at our hero, saying she has something important to say, asking if he happens to know what enchantments are. But of course the idiot says no. She starts giving a boring explanation, saying that it's a special way of using prana that certain races can use, and many among the top-ranked individuals are capable of using it. Lo asks if Loud is one of them, and the girl with the beret replies yes, because he's a warrior from the Borroward tribe. The Borroward tribe is a combat-oriented race skilled in hunting that lives in the fertile lands of the south. They are often passed down orally as poems among the tribes. These are also called enchantments. Even so, there's a type of component to them, and so it's usually hard to acquire them later in life. And Loud said that he seemed to have that kind of enchantment too, asking if the boy has any idea about that. Our hero was still frozen. A flashback of that woman appears in his head again, saying that it might be true. The girl gets all excited, saying that enchantments are a tremendous trump card for a ranker, and that she's once again convinced he can become a top-tier ranker. Looking at her phone, she says she's found the perfect mission. The location is in the Azaba Forest, and it's an ecological survey of a forest that was classified as a danger zone in 48th place 2 months ago. Lo asks if an ecological survey means just investigating animals and things like that. The girl with the beret says that's part of it, but in reality, people have recently been disappearing in that area, and adventurers who accept the same mission vanish without a trace. At first, it was those around the 1000s in rank, but recently even rank 800 adventurers have disappeared, and if he manages to find the cause, he could easily rise 200 ranks. Hearing that, the boy quickly gets up from bed, accepting the mission, asking if she brought this up because she thinks he can do it. She says of course she does. That's why they need to go through the mission acceptance procedures immediately. Just so he knows, in Azaba Forest, there are animals whose species are prohibited, and there are also restricted areas. But since she's there, it's okay. Still, Lo must be careful. Our hero asks what happens if he doesn't follow that, and the girl warns that his ranking will drop. No matter how skilled someone is, if they carelessly destroy the ecosystem or repeatedly fail missions, a reputation as an adventurer will fall. To summarize, your ranking is your credibility itself, and so he accepts the mission, saying that this is a new beginning for the boy and the first step to ascending in the adventurer rankings. For that reason, they must give it their best together. Our boy just gives a smile, saying that's true. Next scene already shifts to that crazy forest, which is entirely purple. A guy is strangling someone, saying you can't unsee what's already been seen. Another background character asks if he killed again, and he replies, what does it matter, since the recognition Boral won't even bother to look for low-ranked guys like that. An animal, meanwhile, is trapped in a cage. The idiot steps on it, saying it seems foolish to sincerely try to raise your ranking. The name of that animal is the Neoceros, and just selling his horn will get him into the 3-digit ranks quickly. Right after, an older bearded man says that strength alone won't raise your adventurer ranking. The idiot's name is Cruel, and he says he exists for those who suffer from such injustice. But the man couldn't care less about that, saying he won't give up such a good battlefield. For that reason, he's going to reach the top 100, and that man's name is Dalkin. He's currently ranked 672, and it's obvious that wasn't fairly earned. Next scene, the protagonist and the girl with the beret are already near that cursed forest. A soldier says he wants to check the ranking and Lo hands over a paper. The soldier sees that he's ranked 2728 and he can enter. Right after, Lo asks how many people are in the adventurer ranking and the girl says it's around 30,000, although about 20,000 are actively participating. Even so, it's a hell incomparable to other rankings, and they say the adventurer ranking is on a completely different level in terms of numbers. For example, a 4-digit ranked adventurer would correspond to higher ranked individuals in other rankings. To summarize, the quality of the adventurer ranking is the best. So a 3-digit adventurer is equivalent to a 2-digit ranked person in other categories, and they are more skilled than the 2 we fought during the exam. Hearing that, our hero is surprised, saying the level is really high. Soon after, they finally enter the blessed forest. Next scene, they are walking through that place. Our boy seems deep in thought about something, and the girl with the beret asks if something's wrong. Observing the surroundings, Lo says this isn't an ordinary forest. Surprised, the girl says he noticed. They say a skilled adventurer can tell how dangerous land is in the blink of an eye. However, regular people have no way of knowing that, and that's why the zone classification was created. That the girl seems to notice something, saying that the reason Azaba Forest was added to the danger zone ranking 2 months ago is simple. At that exact moment, a creature seems to be walking nearby, and the girl says the cause is massive monster outbreaks. In the middle of that situation, the girl says he has to protect her properly. But of course, our hero already knew that, and in a matter of seconds, it wiped out a considerable number of monsters. However, out of nowhere, a flying creature appears. Quickly, the protagonist grabs it by the beak, delivering a clean slash. He continues to eliminate that massive wave of monsters, but there are still many creatures at a distance. The girl with the beret asks if those are the techniques Adal taught him. Lo says yes, but there are still many he's not capable of using yet, though he thinks he might be able to use that one technique soon. At that moment, a giant foot appears. It belongs to a massive orc ranked 126 in the monster rankings. It starts staring at our hero, who, channeling prana into his sword, says he should test it. That prana begins to wrap around his entire body. He seems to try invoking an ability, making an X-shaped slash with his magic blade, but it doesn't have much effect. Our hero is confused by what just happened. The orc doesn't understand anything either. Then it starts chasing them. Lo says he thought that attack would work, and the girl panics, asking if he forgot he's supposed to protect his own life. At that moment, she's shocked by something, because ahead of them, there's no more ground to walk on. Observing the situation, the protagonist simply picks her up, then makes a leap, descending the entire cliff on foot like a lunatic. But surprisingly, he lands unharmed, landing calmly on the other side of the forest. Meanwhile, the girl is still in shock from everything that happened. Lo is relieved, but the girl with the beret is furious, saying he should have warned her before doing something like that. Lo apologizes, saying Adal's training was mostly like that, so it ended up becoming a habit. Looking at the forest, the boy seems to notice something. That part of the forest is really different. And the girl says he's lucky, because that is specifically the research target area. After the forest was designated a danger zone to the ecosystem, the research had to be redone, and about 80% is complete, but 20% is still pending. Basically, the place they're in is part of the 20% still unexplored and is where the monster outbreak occurred. There were various species of plants. The same goes for the peculiar animals. Meanwhile, our hero observes the surroundings, saying that those plants and animals are things he's never seen before. That's why he feels like this is truly an adventure. A flashback appears in his mind with Yuna inviting him to explore the world, thinking that this is the adventure Yuna so longed for them to go on together. Then something approaches. Our hero draws his sword just in case, but the girl steps in front of him, asking him to wait, because that magical beast is injured. They begin to approach the poor creature. Love asks if they shouldn't defeat it, but the girl replies of course not. It has a royal horn and is a rare species of rank 4, nearly extinct. Its leg is hurt, and she begins taking something out of her backpack. Rankers often get injured, so she learned basic medicine, and she had also given him basic treatment when he was defeated by Loud earlier. Looking at the situation, she says they'll have to set up a base there for today, and as a top evaluator, she can't just leave that creature behind. Hearing that, our hero just accepts everything. The girl with the beret says protecting the royal horn is the same as conducting an ecological survey, and you shouldn't take it the wrong way. She's not putting it above him or anything like that. Next scene, it was already nighttime and they had set up their camp. Everyone was already asleep and the girl with the beret was next to that wolf. However, the protagonist kept training with his sword. The guy is extremely disciplined. He starts practicing a sequence of strikes against a tree, but to his surprise, they don't work very well. The boy then gives up, saying it's no use. After that, he lies down in the grass. He begins to remember everything that happened before, thinking that he's completely helpless. At this exact moment, he's not capable of going to the island of the gods. For that reason, he must become much stronger. He then gets up. He remembers the conversation he had with the girl with the beret, saying that Loud had said he also possesses an art. The boy thinks he really might have that kind of ability. Next scene, it's finally daytime. Our hero is already awake. As he gets up, he asks what's wrong. The girl without her beret says that suddenly the wolf started thrashing around. The monster doesn't seem very happy. Lo is surprised because it had already recovered, and the girl says the royal horn has high regeneration, so with proper treatment, it heals quickly. That monster is a cub, so it would normally get along well with people, but that wariness is as if its injury was inflicted by a human. She asks Lo to look carefully at the horn, because the chip parts look like they were attacked by some kind of illegal hunter. The royal horn is extremely rare, so they were once captured in large numbers. And that's the reason it ended up on the list of very rare species. Even though capturing them is prohibitive, the demand hasn't disappeared, so they're still hunted in secret and are sold on the black market under the name unicorn. Right after that, the crazed monster lunges toward the girl. But of course, the protagonist defends her with his sword. The monster doesn't understand what's going on. Our hero continues staring at the creature with a cold gaze. Then it starts running away. Lo says he scared it and asks if they'll go after it. Luke replies yes, and even though it's recovered, it's not in perfect condition. Until now, there was no information about a royal horn being in Azaba forest, and chasing it is part of the ecological survey itself. Next scene, they've all put on their gear and Lo says he'll go ahead. Luke asks him to be careful because there may be illegal hunters in this forest. Hearing that, Lo asks what he should do if he finds one, and if his ranking would go up if he defeats them. Luke says it depends on the opponent's ability, but there is a possibility. Our hero says he understands. He starts charging forward, saying he'll defeat as many as he can. Watching our hero, the girl says he's too fast and she can't even see him anymore. Next scene, he's already walking through that forest, thinking that the monster must have come this way. But at that moment, he notices something. An arrow is flying right at him, but of course, he dodges it. Out of nowhere, a man with a sword appears, calling Lo an illegal hunter. He tries to land a hit on the boy, but he dodges again. Their swords begin to clash. The man is surprised by the protagonist's prana. Then he asks him to wait. Lo seems to recognize that voice, then realizes it's Dracus. The other guy from the other family is there too, but Lo still doesn't remember him and asks what his name is. Frustrated, the blonde guy says his name is Eddie, and the other guy says he's Dracus. Next scene cuts to the Adventurer Ranking Registration Center. Several people are at that place. Dracus is also there, and the girl asks which ranking mission he would like. At that moment, that other archer guy shows up, saying he came to pick up a commission. The two then stare at each other. Next scene, they're in another location talking. Again, they face each other. They both try to speak, but they both say something at the same time. The blonde guy tells him to go first, but Dracus says the same thing. Then the blonde guy asks if he investigated the guy who defeated them, and Dracus replies he couldn't find any information, but it seems that he never belonged to any ranking. The guy is confused, saying he's known as a prodigy in the archer rankings. But because of that idiot, his pride was shattered, especially because he was beaten by some nobody with no ranking. The background character, Dracus, stays silent. A flashback appears in his mind with someone thanking him for his work, asking how the Adventurer Ranking registration went, and the guy says it was completed. The bearded man says that's exactly what he expected from their captain, and the other kid says now they can expand the range of activities. Then the blonde girl says their captain probably gave a hard time to the other examinees, but Dracus replies that he didn't. Everyone starts laughing, and the guy in the cloak says there's no way a 3-digit mercenary would lose to a rookie. At that moment, Dracus slams his hand on the table. Everyone is confused. The boy is extremely irritated, saying that guy didn't even look at him, as if he was treating him like a mere pebble on the path. Starting tomorrow, they would triple their training regimen. The blonde girl says that since he registered for the Adventurer Rankings, from now on they'll be able to accept commissions they couldn't before, but even so, for Dracus, that's not enough. That world, to put it simply, is far bigger than they thought, and that's why he's going to train properly again too. The scene then returns to the present with the guy thinking about everything that had happened, saying his pride is justified and he had no intention of focusing on the Adventurer Rankings, but still he can't leave things like this. Currently, he's number 6,301. The guy who defeated them is ranked 2,728, and now their interests happen to align. That's why they have to deal with this. The blonde boy says there's a forest that was recently added to the Danger Zone rankings, and Dracus says it's Azaba Forest, and the more dangerous it is, the better to raise their rankings. Next scene returns to the present, and those three are staring each other down, all of it reminiscent of the battle they had before. At that moment, the three hear a very loud sound. Drawing his sword, Lo says they'll have to continue their conversation later. Right after, he starts running through the area. Eddie runs after him, saying that Wolf appeared and he thought it was being chased by hunters, concluding that Lo was probably trying to protect that beast. Lo says yes, thinking the boy is running really fast. Eddie then says that when moving through the forest, it's best to use the uneven terrain. Activating his wind ability, he starts running faster and faster. Lo is surprised, but he still doesn't want to fall behind. He channels his prana to run even faster. Soon after, Eddie calls out to the protagonist, saying that the wolf is being attacked by a magical beast. Next scene, he comes face to face with that huge monster, which uses its tentacles to try and grab the two of them. But Lo draws his sword to defend, thinking that if he can't get close, then at least he'll send some slashes from here. He definitely won't get trapped like this. Next scene, Lo asks Eddie if he can create an opening, and the guy says that's not something that just happens suddenly. But even so, he tells him to aim for the eyes and to keep running. Eddie fires arrows while Lo follows his instructions. The projectiles hit the monster dead on. Our hero keeps moving forward. Out of nowhere, Drakus also appears, telling them to aim for both legs. The protagonist uses his leg to dive low, landing a precise hit that apparently has a big impact on the creature. Drakus tells them to grab the wolf and escape. As our hero does that, he looks back. Drakus in turn grabs his sword, cutting through a tree trunk in front of him, which falls directly on the monster. With that, it's all over and Lo managed to rescue the beast. Eddie says it wasn't bad because the instructions were good, and Drakus says he's used to leading others. The boy asks, "What were you calling your subordinate?" Meanwhile, Lo watches everything from above, thinking that the top 10 ranks and their sword skills are excellent. But even so, reaching the top 10 with just that is very difficult, concluding that swordsmanship alone won't be enough. To summarize, to climb the adventurer rankings, he'll need to learn things beyond the sword, which will definitely be something hard at first. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.